Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Astronaut. Tonight we are going to drift together toward one of the strangest and most beautiful ideas that human beings have ever stumbled upon, and we are going to do it without any hurry at all. Here is the question that will carry us through the next 2 hours. The question we will turn over and over, the way you might turn a smooth stone in your hand in the dark. Why does time move differently across the universe? It sounds at first like a small thing, almost like a trick of words. Surely time is just time. Surely a second here is a second there. A minute on this side of the bed is a minute on the other. A year on this little planet is a year on every other world spinning out in the wide black distance. And yet, that is not how the universe is built. That is the lovely paradox we are going to lie down inside of tonight. Time does not flow at one fixed speed for everyone everywhere. It bends, it stretches, it pools and slows near heavy things and quickens out in the empty reaches. It is different at the top of a mountain than at the bottom of a valley, different on a fast-moving ship than on the steady ground, different beside a collapsed star than beside a candle. There is no single great clock hanging at the center of everything, ticking down one true time for all of creation. There never was, and so over the next 2 hours we are going to wander, slowly, through 4 wide landscapes of this idea. First, we will sit with the plain everyday strangeness of time itself, the way it already behaves oddly even before we leave the room. Then, we will drift out to where motion bends it, where simply moving fast enough is enough to fold the hours. After that, we will sink down toward gravity, toward the heavy hearts of stars and planets and the deep wells they make, where time grows thick and slow like honey in the cold. And at last, we will float out to the very largest view of all, the time of the whole universe, the long, unhurried breathing of everything, and we will find, gathered up in all of it, a kind of comfort. If you find these slow journeys worth your time, a like or a subscribe helps the channel reach others who are also lying awake, also drifting, also looking for a tender place to land. Thank you for being here. It means a great deal to know you are out there in the dark with me, both of us under the same impossible sky. But for the next 2 hours, none of this is anything you need to hold on to. There is nothing to learn and nothing to remember. You will not be tested on any of it. The facts are only here to give your mind something smooth and slow to follow, like watching snow fall past a window, like watching a tide go out. Settle in. Let your shoulders ease down, away from your ears. Let your breathing slow on its own, with no effort at all. Feel the place where your body meets the bed, and let it hold you completely, so that you do not have to hold yourself up at all anymore. Let the whole weight of the day sink down through the mattress and away, down through the floor, down into the patient ground. Let's begin. Let us start with the time you already know, the time you have always lived inside, because even that, when you look at it closely in the hush of the night, is far stranger than it seems. You woke this morning, and the day unrolled in front of you, one moment after another, in a single unbroken line. The light came up. The hours passed. The light went down, and underneath all of it, you carried a serene certainty that time was simply there, the same for everyone, a steady river that everything floats along together at exactly the same pace. The clock on the wall agreed with the clock on your wrist, which agreed with the clock across the city, which agreed, you assumed, with every clock everywhere, all of them nodding along to the same unheard beat. This is the picture of time that almost everyone carries through their whole life. And it is a comfortable picture, and for the small, slow business of living a human day, it works beautifully. But it is not quite true, and the ways in which it is not true are some of the most wonderful things ever discovered. And tonight, you get to lie here and let them wash over you, with no need to do anything about them at all. Think, for a moment, about what a clock actually is. Strip away the numbers on its face and the hands that sweep around, and what is left is simply something that repeats. Something that does the same thing over and over at a steady rhythm, so that we can count the repetitions and call the counting time. A pendulum swinging back and forth. A spring uncoiling tooth by tooth. A crystal of quartz trembling millions of times each second, far too fast to see, humming away inside almost every watch and phone in the world. And in the most precise clocks we have ever built, it is the trembling of atoms themselves, tiny and tireless, keeping a beat so even and so faithful that they would lose less than a single second across the entire age of the universe. A clock is just a faithful repeater, a thing that ticks. And time, in a very real sense, is whatever the clocks measure. That is a humbler and stranger definition than the one we usually carry, and yet it is the doorway into everything we will explore tonight. Because once you see that time is what clocks measure, the next question arrives all on its own, drifting in like a leaf onto still water. What if not all clocks agree? What if you could take two perfect clocks, two flawless, faithful repeaters, set them ticking in perfect step, and then send them on different journeys, and bring them back together, and find that they no longer told the same time? What if one had counted out more seconds than the other? Not because it was broken, not because anyone tampered with it, but simply because of where it went and how fast it traveled? That is not a riddle. That is the world. That is the universe we actually live in, and it has been measured again and again with clocks so precise that we can no longer pretend otherwise. But I am getting ahead of us, and there is no need to rush, because we have all the time in the world tonight. Or rather, we have all the times in the world, countless private times, one for every clock and every traveler and every heavy heart out there in the dark. And that is the thread we will follow through this whole long night. The single idea I want you to let drift through everything else, like a thread of silver through dark cloth. There is no master clock. There is no one true time that the whole universe obeys. Time is local. Time is personal. Time is hushed and pliable and belongs, in the deepest way, to each thing that lives it. The universe does not keep one great tick that all things march to. It keeps countless private times, uncountable little rivers each flowing at its own pace, and yours, the one you are floating along right now as you lie here breathing slowly in the dark, yours is entirely your own. No one else has ever had it. No one else ever will. Hold that thought lightly, the way you would hold a sleeping bird, and let us drift on. Consider how strangely time already behaves inside your own mind. Before we even reach the physics of it, you have felt this your whole life, on nights exactly like this one. There are afternoons that seem to last forever, long golden stretches in childhood, where a single summer felt as wide as a continent, where the hours between waking and supper were a whole country you could wander in and never reach the far edge of. And there are years now, perhaps, that slip past so quickly you can scarcely believe they have gone, whole seasons that fold up small and vanish almost before you have noticed them arrive. The clock on the wall says these are the same hours, the same days, ticking past at the same unchanging rate. But the time that you live, the time that passes through you, is not the time the clock measures. When you are absorbed in something you love, when you are lost in it completely, an hour can pass in what feels like a single breath. And when you are waiting, truly waiting, watching the door, watching the sky, the same hour stretches and stretches until it seems it will never end. The mind keeps its own private time, and that private time runs fast and slow according to laws of its own, laws we only half understand, laws that have nothing to do with the steady patient ticking of the clock beside the bed. I bring this up not because the bending of time in the mind is the same as the bending of time in the universe, because it is not quite. They are different things wearing a similar face. I bring it up because it means you already know, deep in your own body, that time is not the single fixed unchanging thing we usually pretend it is. You have lived inside its strangeness all along. You have felt it slow down and speed up 1,000 times. And so when I tell you that the universe itself, the great wide cosmos of stars and space and gravity, also keeps no single master time, that it too lets time run fast in some places and slow in others, you do not need to find this frightening or strange or hard. You can recognize it. You can welcome it, the way you would welcome a traveler home from a long road, someone you somehow already knew. Time has always been personal. The universe simply takes that truth and writes it large across the sky, in starlight and in shadow, in the deep slow hearts of heavy things, and the swift bright flight of light itself. So let your breath go slow and even now, and let the room grow serene around the edges, and let us go gently down into the first great wonder, the wonder of how motion itself can fold the hours, how simply moving through the world can change the time you live. We will go there the way you go everywhere on these nights, without hurrying, one easy step after another, in no rush at all, because there is nowhere we need to be and nothing we need to reach. There is only this, the slow unspooling of a beautiful idea in the dark, and your breath, and the weight of you sinking deeper into the bed with every word. To understand how motion bends time, we do not need any mathematics tonight, and we will not use any. Not a single number you have to carry. We only need to think, slowly and patiently, about light, because light turns out to be the secret key to the whole thing, the tranquil hinge that the whole universe swings upon. Imagine then the most ordinary thing in the world. Imagine a beam of light crossing a room. It leaves a lamp. It travels across the open air. It lands on the far wall. Simple. We see this happen 1,000 times a day and never once think it strange. But here is the first wonder. The wonder that overturned everything. The discovery that a young clerk in a patent office turned over in his mind more than 100 years ago, until it bloomed into the strangest and truest picture of reality we have ever had. The speed of that light does not change, no matter how you move, no matter how fast you yourself are traveling when you measure it. Light always crosses the space in front of you at exactly the same speed. Always, without exception. It does not matter if you are standing still, or running, or riding in the fastest ship ever built, hurtling through the void at a speed that would carry you around the whole world in the time it takes to draw a single breath. The light still slides past you, at precisely the same unchanging speed, as serene and indifferent as ever. Sit with how odd that is, because everything in your ordinary experience says it should not be so. Think of throwing a ball forward from a moving train. If you are on the train and you throw the ball, to you it leaves your hand at the speed you threw it. But to someone standing on the platform watching the train rush by, the ball moves faster, because it carries the speed of the train added on top of the speed of your throw. That is how the everyday world works. Speeds add together. Run towards something and it comes at you faster. Run away and it recedes more slowly. This is so deeply woven into how we live that we never even notice we believe it. And yet light, alone among all things, refuses to play this game. Shine a beam ahead of you while you race forward at tremendous speed, and the light does not go any faster for your racing. Chase after a beam of light as fast as you possibly can, and it does not slow down even a little, does not let you gain on it by even the smallest amount. It flees from you at exactly the same speed, no matter how hard you run. Light keeps its own pace, always, for everyone, in every direction, and absolutely nothing you can do will change it. Now here is where the magic comes, and I want you to follow it slowly, because it is one of the most beautiful pieces of reasoning a human being has ever laid down, and it is the kind of thing that is far easier to drift into than to grasp by force. If the speed of light never changes, but the world is full of things moving at all different speeds, then something else has to give. Something has to bend to keep light steady. And the thing that bends, the thing that flexes and stretches to keep light forever constant, turns out to be time itself. And distance too, woven together with time into a single fabric. Picture a very simple clock. The simplest clock you could ever build. It is just a beam of light bouncing straight up and down between two mirrors, one above and one below, up and down, and each bounce is one tick. While the clock sits still beside you, the light goes straight up and straight back down, the shortest possible path, and it ticks away at a steady, familiar rate. Now imagine that same little clock, the same two mirrors and the same beam bouncing between them, but this time it is sliding past you, carried along on something moving very fast. From your point of view, watching it glide by, the light no longer goes straight up and straight down, because while the beam is traveling up toward the top mirror, the whole clock is moving sideways, and so the top mirror is no longer directly above where the beam started. The beam has to travel up and across at the same time, along a slanting, diagonal path. And a diagonal path is longer than a straight one. The light has farther to go. But, and here is the whole heart of it, the whole peaceful hinge of the universe, the light cannot go any faster to make up for the longer distance. Its speed is fixed, unchangeable. The same for you and for everyone. So if the light has farther to travel, and it cannot travel any faster, then it must take longer to complete each bounce. Each tick of the moving clock takes more time than each tick of the clock at rest beside you. The moving clock ticks slowly. Time, for the thing that is moving, runs slow. Let that settle over you like a blanket being drawn up. It is not that the moving clock is broken, or that something jostled it, or that the light got tired on its longer journey. It is that time itself, for anything in motion, genuinely passes more slowly, as seen by someone watching it go by. The faster a thing moves, the more slowly its time flows. This has a name, a lovely, heavy phrase that scientists use, but you do not need the name tonight. You only need the picture. Move through space, and you move more slowly through time. The two are traded against each other, woven together, so that the faster you race across the world, the more languidly your own private clock turns. And this is not a trick of the eye, not an illusion of distance or perspective. It is real. it has been measured countless times with real clocks, flown on real airplanes around the real Earth, and brought home to be compared with the clocks that stayed behind. And every single time the traveling clocks come home, having counted just a little less time than the ones that stayed still. A tiny amount, far too small to ever feel, billionths of a second on an airplane. But real, measured true, the travelers came back very slightly younger than they would have been if they had stayed home, by an amount no human heart could ever notice, and yet an amount the universe keeps perfect track of, faithfully, down to the last fraction of a tick. And so already, only a little way into our night, the thread shows itself clearly. There is no single time that everyone shares. The clock that travels and the clock that stays behind do not agree, and neither one is wrong. Each has counted its own honest time, faithfully, every tick true. They simply lived different amounts of time, because they took different paths through the world. The universe did not hand them one shared clock to obey. It let each of them keep its own. And that is not a flaw in the universe, not a glitch, not some failure of the cosmos to keep proper order. It is how the universe is made, woven all the way down. Time is something each thing carries with it, like a warmth, like a heartbeat, private and personal and entirely its own. I want you to imagine this, now, slowly, the way you might imagine a dream you are sinking into. Imagine you are aboard a ship, the most beautiful ship ever built, a vessel of low white light gliding out through the dark between the stars. It moves faster than anything you have ever known, faster than thought almost, sweeping silently through the long black distances, and you feel nothing strange at all. Inside the ship, everything is ordinary and unremarkable. Your heart beats at its usual pace. Your breath comes and goes. If you held up a clock, it would tick along just as clocks always have, second by patient second, completely normal, completely familiar. There is no rushing wind of time inside the ship, no sense that anything is slowing or speeding. From where you lie, all is exactly as it should be. This is one of the tenderest truths of the whole idea, and I want you to keep it close. Your own time never feels strange to you. It is always the others, the watchers left behind, the distant ones, who would see your clock running slow. To yourself, you are always perfectly ordinary, always at rest at the very center of your own serene world, with time flowing past you at its usual easy rate. The strangeness only appears when you compare, when you look across the gap at someone living a different time than yours. And even then there is nothing to fear in it, nothing sharp or wrong. There is only difference, only the faint fact that you and they are moving through time at your own separate paces, each of you perfectly at home in your own. So picture the watchers then, the ones who stayed behind on some far world, looking up to follow your ship of light as it sails away. To them, everything aboard you would seem to slow. Your waving hand would drift more languidly. Your turning to look back would take longer than it should. The very breath in your chest would rise and fall as though through thick, slow water. And to you, none of it would feel that way at all. You would simply be living, ordinarily, breath by breath, while the universe outside your windows kept a different time. Neither of you would be right, and neither of you would be wrong. You would simply be two travelers, each carrying your own true time, each perfectly at peace within it. There is something almost unbearably gentle in that, when you let it sink all the way down. No one is ever out of step with their own time. No one is ever rushing or lagging in their own world. Each of us, always, is exactly on time within ourselves, no matter how differently the hours might run for someone watching from across the long dark distance. Now let your mind drift a little further out along this same path, because it carries us somewhere wonderful and strange and soothing. If moving fast enough slows your time relative to those at rest, then a traveler who journeyed far and fast and then returned home would come back to find that more time had passed at home than had passed for them. They would step off their ship of light having lived, let us say, only a single year, while at home many years had gone by. This is sometimes called the puzzle of the traveling twin, and people have turned it over for a long time, but tonight we will not turn it into a puzzle at all. We will simply let it be the beautiful thing it is. A traveler could go out among the stars, live their own full and unhurried life, every day of it feeling perfectly ordinary, every breath their own, and return to a home that had aged more than they did. Time would have been kind to them, in a way, would have let them keep more of itself by carrying them swiftly through the dark. They would not have cheated anything, not stolen any time. They would simply have walked a different path through the same vast fabric, a path that happened to fold fewer years into it, and everyone they had ever known would have walked a longer path, lived more of their own honest time. Both true, both real. No master clock to say which of them lived the right amount. Only two threads of silver running side by side through the dark cloth, each its own length, each complete. There is a softness in this that I want to leave with you before we move on, before we drift down toward the next great wonder. The next time you feel that you are running out of time, that the clock is your enemy, that the hours are slipping away faster than you can hold them, remember that there is no one true clock at all, anywhere in all the universe, that you are bound to obey. Remember that even the stars do not share a single time. Remember that your time is your own, woven to your own path, true to your own heartbeat, and that no measure outside you can tell you that you are early or late. You are exactly where your own time has carried you, exactly when you are, and that is the only place any traveler ever needs to be. Let that ease you down a little deeper now. Let your jaw unclench. Let the small worry in your chest, whatever it is, loosen its grip and float up and away, out through the ceiling, out past the roof, up into the wide, forgiving dark, where there is room enough for everything. Now we come to the second great way that time bends, and to my mind it is the more beautiful of the two, the more tender, the one that touches us most closely as we lie here on the surface of a heavy world. For it is not only motion that folds the hours, it is gravity, it is weight, it is the simple presence of heavy things in space. And this means that time is bending, very slightly, right now, all around you, in the room where you lie, because the earth beneath you is heavy, and its weight is pressing on time itself, drawing it slow, the way a hand pressed into loose cloth draws the cloth down around it into a hollow. To feel our way into this, we have to let go of an old picture and take up a newer, stranger, lovelier one. The old picture says that gravity is a force, an invisible pull, a kind of rope that heavy things throw out to grab and hold the things around them. The earth, in this old picture, reaches out with an unseen hand and pulls you down onto the bed, pulls the moon around in its long, slow circle, pulls the falling leaf to the ground. And there is nothing wrong with that picture for everyday life. It works perfectly well. It will never lead you astray when you are walking downstairs or pouring water into a glass. But the deeper truth, The truth that the same patent clerk uncovered a decade after he first understood the constancy of light is far stranger and far more wonderful than any rope or pull. Gravity is not a force reaching across empty space. Gravity is the shape of space and time themselves. Heavy things bend the very fabric that everything sits in, and what we feel as the pull of gravity is simply us and everything else following the curves of that bent fabric, sliding along the hollows that heavy things carve into the world. Picture a wide, smooth sheet, stretched out flat, the kind of thing you might lie down on. Now set something heavy in the middle of it, a smooth round stone, and watch the sheet sag. Watch it dip down into a curved bowl around the stone. Anything you set rolling across that sheet would now curve toward the stone, would circle it, would spiral slowly inward, not because the stone reached out and grabbed it, but simply because the sheet itself is no longer flat. The path has changed. The straightest possible line across a curved surface is itself a curve. That is gravity. The sun does not pull the earth with an invisible rope. The sun is so heavy that it presses a deep, wide hollow into the fabric of space and time. And the earth simply rolls along the inside of that hollow, around and around, following the curve, taking the straightest path it can through a space that has been bent. And the earth does the same, smaller, gentler, pressing its own hollow into the fabric, and you and I and everything on it sits at the bottom of that hollow, held there not by a rope, but by the shape of the world itself. And here is the wonder, the thing that brings us back to time. When heavy things bend the fabric, they do not only bend space, they bend time along with it, because space and time are not two separate things but one single woven fabric, and you cannot dimple one without dimpling the other. Down in the hollow, down near the heavy thing, time itself runs slow. The deeper into the well of gravity you go, the more languidly time flows. Close to a heavy world, time is thick and slow, like honey kept in a cold place. Far away, out in the open where the fabric is flat and untroubled, time runs quick and light. And this is not poetry, not a way of speaking. It is measured fact, true and tested. A clock at the bottom of a mountain, deeper in the Earth's gravity well, runs very slightly slower than a clock at the top of the mountain, higher up, where the fabric is a little less curved. Your head, right now, is aging a tiny fraction faster than your feet, because your head is a little farther from the center of the heavy earth, a little higher up out of the hollow, where time runs the smallest bit quicker. The difference is unimaginably small, far too small for any heart to feel, a matter of the tiniest slivers of a second across a whole human life. But it is real. We have measured it. Lift a clock by even a single step of a staircase, and it will run, ever so slightly, faster than the clock left on the floor below. Think of what that means. Lying here, the very floor of your room keeps a slightly different time than the ceiling above you. The pillow beneath your head runs a hair's breadth ahead of the mattress beneath your feet. You are not living at one single time even within your own body. Your hand resting up near your face and your hand resting down at your side are, in the most exquisitely tiny way, living at two slightly different times. There is no master clock even within you. There never was. You are a small, serene country of countless private times, all of them flowing at very slightly different rates, depending on exactly how high they sit out of the hollow that the heavy earth has pressed into the fabric of the world. And all of it is so close to identical that you live as one whole person, one single seamless life, never feeling the difference at all. But it is there. The universe keeps track of it. Every part of you keeps its own true time, and the universe lets each part keep it, faithfully, down to the last fraction of a tick. There is a place in the world where this truth had to be reckoned with, gently and practically, and I find it one of the most touching small stories in all of science. So let us pause here and visit it slowly before we drift on. High above us, far above the clouds, far above the highest birds and the highest planes, there are little machines circling the Earth, satellites, carrying clocks. These are the clocks that whisper down to the devices in our pockets and tell them where on the Earth they are, that guide travelers across strange cities and ships across dark seas and lost wanderers home again. And these clocks face the bending of time from both sides at once, both of the wonders we have met tonight. They are moving very fast, racing around the whole Earth many times a day, and so motion tries to slow their time down. But they are also high up, far out of the deep hollow of the Earth's gravity, where the fabric is flatter and time runs quicker, and so height tries to speed their time up. And the speeding wins, a little. Up there, their clocks run faster than ours by a tiny amount each day, a few millionths of a second, every single day. It sounds like nothing. It is nothing you could ever feel. But if the people who built these machines had not accounted for it, had not bent their calculations to match the bending of time, the guidance whispered down to us would drift off course within hours and grow more wrong with every passing day, until it could not find any place on Earth at all. So every one of those clocks, circling high above us in the cold and the hushed, is set very deliberately to tick at a slightly different rate than a clock on the ground, so that once it is up there in the flatter, quicker time of the heights, it will fall into step with us below. We have learned to speak the language of bent time so well that we build it into the ordinary machines that guide us home. Every time a traveler glances down at a small glowing map to find their way, they are leaning, without knowing it, on the tender truth that time runs differently up there than it does down here, that the heavens and the earth keep different hours, and that we have learned to translate between them tenderly enough that no one ever gets lost. There is something quietly moving in that, I think, when you let it settle over you in the dark. We took the strangest truth in all of physics, the bending of time itself, and we folded it into a small kindness, a way of never being lost, a way of always finding the road home. The universe keeps 1,000 different times, and we learn to listen to all of them at once, just so that no traveler need ever wander unguided in the night. Let that thought rock you a little, like a boat on easy water. Above you, time runs faster. Below you, time runs slower. And you, here, in the middle, in your warm bed in the tranquil dark, are held in the low seam between them, living your own true time, exactly your own, while the heights race ahead by millionths of a second and the depths fall behind by the same, and none of it disturbs the long, even breathing of your rest. You do not have to keep up with the heights. You do not have to wait for the depths. You only have to lie here, in your own time, which asks nothing of you at all. Let us pause now and let the night soften further, and let me tell you, slowly, the story of how human beings ever came to know any of this at all, because it is a story full of patience and peaceful wonder and the kind of long, slow thinking that suits a night like this. For thousands upon thousands of years, no one suspected that time could bend. How could they? Nothing in the daily round of life ever hinted at it. The sun rose and set. The seasons turned. People watered their fields and counted the days and grew old at what seemed a single steady pace, and the idea that time itself might be faint, might flow differently in different places would have seemed not just wrong, but meaningless. Like saying that the number 3 weighed more on Tuesdays. Time was the one fixed thing, the great unmoving backdrop against which everything else changed. Even the most careful thinkers, the ones who measured the heavens with astonishing precision, who tracked the wandering planets and predicted the eclipses and laid down laws of motion that held for centuries, even they took it for granted that time was one single river flowing the same for all. And it held that picture for a very long time because for everything human beings could measure, it was true enough. The errors were far too small to see. You would have needed clocks more faithful than anyone could build, and speeds greater than anyone could reach, and heavy things weighed with more care than anyone could manage, before the cracks in the old picture would begin to show. So the old picture stood, comfortable and unquestioned, for generation after generation, while underneath it the real and stranger truth waited to be found, the way a spring waits underground for someone to dig down to it. Then, a little more than 100 years ago, a young man sat in a serene office in a hushed city, stamping papers, checking the designs of inventions that came across his desk, and in the long, unhurried hours, he let his mind wander out among the deepest questions he could find. He was not famous. He was not even, in those years, a professor or anyone of standing. He was a clerk with a restless and patient imagination, and what he kept returning to, turning over and over, was that one strange fact about light, that it always travels at the same speed no matter how you move. Everyone knew this fact by then. It had been measured. But almost no one had dared to take it completely seriously, to ask what the world would have to be like for it to be true, all the way down, with no exceptions. He dared. He simply followed it, patiently, wherever it led, the way you might follow a thread through a dark house, trusting it not to break. And it led him to the most astonishing conclusion. If light always moves at the same speed for everyone, he reasoned, then time and space themselves must bend to make it so. Moving clocks must run slow. Moving lengths must shrink. There could be no single shared now stretching across the whole universe, no master clock, no one true time. Each thing must carry its own. It was, when he first set it down, an idea built almost entirely of pure thought, of careful reasoning followed without flinching to its end. He had no great experiment, no glittering machine, only the constancy of light and the courage to take it seriously. And then, a decade later, he went further still and turned his patient mind to gravity, and there he found the second wonder, that heavy things bend the fabric of space and time, that gravity is not a pull, but a shape, that time itself runs slow down in the hollows that heavy things press into the world. This second idea was even harder, even stranger, and it took him years of difficult thought, years of wrong turns and dead ends and patient beginning again, before it finally came together into something whole. And when it did, it made predictions so precise and so strange that they could be tested against the heavens themselves. And here is the part of the story I love the most, the part that suits the hush of this hour. For a long time, these were only ideas, only beautiful reasoning, and many people doubted them, and it would have been easy to set them aside as too strange to be true. But the universe, it turned out, agreed, slowly, patiently. Over the years and the decades that followed, people built clocks faithful enough and instruments fine enough to look for the bending of time, and every single time they looked, they found it, exactly where the reasoning had said it would be. They flew clocks around the world and brought them home running slow by precisely the predicted amount. They lifted clocks up tall towers and watched them tick faster, by precisely the predicted amount. They watched the light of distant stars bend as it passed close by the heavy sun, curving along the hollow in the fabric, arriving just slightly displaced from where it should have been, by precisely the predicted amount. Again and again, the strange ideas of the patient clerk were laid against the real and stubborn universe. And again, the universe nodded and said, "Yes, this is how I am made." There is something deeply soothing in that to me. A tranquil mind, following one true thread with patience and without fear, arrived at a picture of reality so strange it could hardly be believed, and the whole vast cosmos turned out to have been built that way all along, waiting only for someone to think it through. The truth was always there. It only needed a slow and unhurried mind to find it. And so the old comfortable picture of one single time for all was set down, gently, the way you set down something you have outgrown, and in its place came something far stranger and, I think, far kinder. A universe of countless private times. A universe with no master clock and no single now. A universe where every star and every planet and every traveler and every sleeper keeps their own true time, woven to their own path through the bent and lovely fabric of the world. It took humanity a very long time to find this out, thousands of years of taking time for granted, and then one patient mind in a hushed office, and then decades of careful looking. And now we know. And you, lying here in the dark, are among the small number of beings in all the long history of the world who have ever known it, who have ever lain down beneath the stars, understanding that those stars each keep a time of their own, and that yours is yours, and that there is no great clock anywhere to which any of you must answer. Let that knowledge be a tender weight on you now, like an extra blanket, warm and unhurried, asking nothing, simply keeping you company in the dark. Now let us drift out toward the deepest hollows of all, the places where time bends most of all, where the fabric of the world dips down so far that time grows slower than anywhere else in the universe. I am speaking of the heavy hearts of collapsed stars, the deep dark wells we call black holes, and I want you to set down, right at the start, any fear you may carry about them, because tonight they will not be frightening at all. Tonight they will be among the most peaceful places we visit, the slowest and the stillest, the deepest pools of tranquil time in all of creation. There is nothing to dread in them. They are only the universe gathered into its stillest and most patient form. To understand them, think again of the smooth sheet and the heavy stone pressing its hollow into it. A small heavy thing makes a small dip. A larger heavier thing makes a deeper one. The sun makes a wide deep hollow that holds all the planets in their long slow circles. But imagine now something far heavier still. Something so heavy and so densely gathered that the hollow it presses becomes a deep narrow well, plunging down and down, steeper and steeper, until near the very bottom the sides become so steep that not even light, the swiftest thing there is, can climb back out. That is a black hole. It is not a hole in the sense of an emptiness, not a tear or a wound in space. It is the opposite. It is the most concentrated weight there can be, so much weight gathered into so small a place that it has bent the fabric of the world down into a well too deep for anything to climb. And around the lip of that well, all around the deep dark center, time slows to its most languid, most unhurried pace anywhere in the cosmos. Now here is the thing I want you to drift into slowly, because it is so strange and so soothing at once. Imagine a clock, lowered very slowly down toward one of these deep wells, down toward the edge where light itself can no longer climb out. As it descends deeper and deeper into the bent fabric, its time runs slower and slower. To someone watching from far away, from safe and level ground out where the fabric is flat, the lowered clock would seem to tick more and more languidly the deeper it went, its hands drifting slower, its ticks stretching farther and farther apart. And right at the very edge, at the lip of the deepest part of the well, time as seen from outside would seem to slow almost to a standstill, the clock nearly frozen, a single tick stretched out so long it might take an age to complete. From the safe distance, the falling clock would appear to hang there at the edge forever, caught in a single endless moment, its time drawn out so thin and so slow that it would seem hardly to pass at all. And yet, and this is the tender heart of it, to the clock itself, to anything that traveled with it, nothing strange would happen at all. Its own time would feel perfectly ordinary, ticking along second by second, just as it always had. It would not feel frozen. It would not feel slow. It would simply be living its own true time, the way you are living yours right now, breath by breath, while to the distant watcher that same time appeared stretched almost to stillness. There it is again, the same serene truth that has run through everything tonight. Your own time never feels strange to you. It is always the watchers, the distant ones, who see your clock running slow. Near the deepest wells in the universe, this truth simply reaches its most extreme and beautiful form. A traveler at the edge of a black hole would live their own ordinary, unhurried life, while the whole rest of the universe, seen from there, would seem to race ahead, the distant stars wheeling and the far-off ages flickering past. And to those distant stars in turn, that traveler would seem to hang almost motionless at the edge of time itself, living one long, endless, serene moment that to them would never seem to end. Sit with how peaceful that is when you set the fear aside. Near these deep wells, time pools and rests. It becomes the slowest and most patient version of itself. If there were a place in all the universe where you could lie down and let the hours stretch out almost endlessly, where a single tranquil moment could be drawn out longer than the lives of distant stars, it would be there, at the edge of one of these deep, dark hollows, in the slowest time there is. They are not devouring monsters, whatever the old stories made of them. They are the universe at its most motionless, its most concentrated, its most patient. They are great hushed pools of slow time gathered in the dark, where a moment can last almost forever. And the universe is scattered all over with them, uncountable deep wells of slow time, each one keeping its own private hours, each one a place where time has gathered to rest. There is no master clock that they obey. Each deep well keeps its own slow time, slower than any other, and the universe lets it faithfully, without complaint, the way it lets every clock everywhere keep its own. I want you to imagine, now, drifting toward one of these places, but tenderly, dreamily, with no fear in it at all, because you are not really going anywhere tonight except deeper into your own rest. Imagine you are being carried, slowly, through the long dark, toward a place where time runs slow. You are not falling. You are not in any danger. You are simply being carried, the way a small child is carried up to bed, held safe in arms that will not let you go, drifting through the hushed dark toward a place of deep, slow time. The stars wheel slowly past on every side, distant and serene, each one keeping its own private time, none of them in any hurry, all of them content. And as you are carried deeper, toward the slow pool ahead, you feel your own time stretching out, growing wider and more unhurried, each moment lasting longer, each breath drawn out longer and slower than the last. There is so much time here. There is more time here than you could ever need. The whole rushing world you came from, with its appointments and its alarms and its hurry, is far behind you now, racing along in its quick, bright time, while you drift down into the slow pool where a single moment opens wide enough to rest inside of forever. Let yourself sink toward it. Let your breathing lengthen. Let each breath be slower than the one before. The way time itself grows slower the deeper you drift, until your breath and the slow time of the deep places move together, unhurried, endless, at peace. And as you drift there, in the slowest time in the universe, I want you to notice that nothing about it feels strange or wrong. It only feels like rest. It only feels like the deepest, most patient stillness you have ever known. This is what the deep wells of the universe are, underneath all the fear the stories piled on them. They are rest. They are slow time gathered into the dark. They are the universe showing us that time can stretch as wide as we could ever wish, that a single moment can hold more than we ever imagined, that there is no hurry anywhere written into the fabric of the world. The hurry was always ours, a small human thing, a habit of the daytime. The universe itself is in no hurry at all. It has all the time there is, countless private times, some of them so slow that a moment lasts an age, and it spends them without the smallest impatience, content to let each clock keep its own pace, content to let the deep pools rest and the bright reaches race, and everything between them flow at whatever speed its own path through the fabric allows. Let that be your speed now. Let your time be the slow time of the deep places, the unhurried time of the patient universe, and let it carry you down serenely into rest. Let us float upward again now, out of the deepest wells, and take a wider view, the widest view there is, and look at the time of the whole universe all at once, because there is comfort waiting there too, a different kind of comfort, vast and steady. We have seen that time runs fast and slow in different places, that there is no single master clock. But you might wonder then how anyone can speak of the age of the universe at all. How can we say the universe is so many billions of years old if there is no one true time, if every clock keeps its own hours? It is a fair question, and the answer is itself a soothing thing. When we speak of the age of the universe, we mean the time that would be kept by a clock drifting along with the great average flow of everything. A clock not racing fast through space, not sunk deep in any heavy well, but simply floating along with the slow outward drift of the cosmos itself, at rest within the wide, easy current of all things. There is no master clock, but there is a kind of broad and patient time, the time of the whole drifting fabric, the slow even breathing of everything, and that is the time we count when we count the long ages of the world. And those ages are long beyond all imagining, long in a way that is meant tonight only to soothe you, only to set your own small hours in a vast and gentle context. The universe, as best we can tell, has been unfolding for something like 14,000 million years. Say that slowly to yourself, or rather, do not say it. Just let it drift past. 14,000 million years of slow unfolding, of stars kindling and slowly burning and going out, of galaxies turning their great slow wheels in the dark, of light setting out from distant places and crossing the long emptiness for ages upon ages before arriving, faint and patient, at last. Against that immensity, against that long, calm breathing of the cosmos, the whole of human history is the merest flicker. and a single human life is a flicker within the flicker. And this one night, this one tender night you are spending here in the dark, is smaller still, a single tender heartbeat in the long, slow life of everything. And there is nothing sad in that. There is only rest in it. For if the universe has unfolded so slowly and so patiently for so unimaginably long, then surely there is no need for you to hurry tonight. Surely there is time enough. Surely the small worries of the day, the things left undone, the words you wish you had said or unsaid, can be set down lightly against this immensity and seen for the tiny passing things they are. The universe is in no hurry. It has been unhurried for 14,000 million years. You may be unhurried too, tonight, for these few unhurried hours, and lose nothing at all. Let us think for a moment about the light of the stars, because it carries this truth so tenderly. When you look up at the night sky, you are not seeing the stars as they are now. You are seeing them as they were, each one as it was when its light first set out across the dark. The nearest stars you can see are showing you light that left them a few years ago, so that you are seeing them as they were a few years past. But many of the stars you can see are far, far older in their light than that. Some are showing you light that left them hundreds of years ago, or thousands, light that set out across the emptiness long before you were born, long before anyone you have ever known was born, and has been traveling patiently ever since, crossing the long dark at its fixed, unchanging speed, to arrive at last tonight, just now, at your eye. When you look up, you are looking back in time, gazing across thousands of years, all at once. The near stars showing you the recent past, and the far stars showing you the deep past. All of it gathered together in a single sky. The light from the most distant things we can see has been traveling for almost the whole age of the universe, set out when the cosmos was young, crossing the dark for thousands of millions of years, to reach us only now. The night sky is not a picture of the present at all. It is a vast and rich layering of times, every star a different moment, every point of light a different age. All of them woven together into one faint glittering hole above your bed. And so even the simple act of looking up is an encounter with the great truth of tonight. There is no single now stretched across the sky. There is no one moment that all the stars share. Each one shows you its own time, its own past, the moment when its light departed. And those moments are scattered across thousands and millions of years, and yet they all arrive together, gently, in the same upward glance. The sky is made of many times. It always has been. And there is something in that which I find endlessly soothing, that when we look up, we are not straining toward a single distant present we can never quite reach, but resting in a tender layering of many pasts, each one arriving in its own good time, each one patient, each one having traveled so far and so long, simply to reach us, simply to be seen, simply to lay its faint light against our eyes in the dark. The stars are in no hurry to reach us. Their light takes ages and minds nothing of it. It simply travels faithfully at its own fixed pace and arrives when it arrives and asks nothing of us but to be seen. Let your own thoughts travel like that tonight. Let them set out slowly, in no hurry to arrive, content to drift across the long dark of your rest, arriving wherever they arrive in their own good time. Now I want to bring us back, for a while, from these vast distances, and let us think about scale, about size, about how very small you are and how very large the universe is. And let us find in that, as we always do on these nights, not fear, but comfort. For there is a particular tenderness in remembering, on a night like this, just how small your worries are against the size of things. Lie here, and let the room grow large around you, and then let your imagination float up, slowly, out through the roof, up above the rooftops and the trees, up where the whole town becomes a small scatter of lights below you, and then higher still, up where the whole curve of the earth comes into view, blue and white and turning slowly in the dark, and then higher still, until the earth itself is only a small bright marble hanging in the black, and the moon is a smaller paler one nearby, and then higher still, until even the sun is only one star among many, and our whole family of planets is a tiny invisible thing lost in the vastness, and then higher still, until our whole galaxy, our great slow wheel of hundreds of thousands of millions of stars, is only a small bright spiral turning in the dark, and then higher still, until even that spiral is only one of countless others, scattered across distances so vast that the light between them takes longer to cross than the whole age of life on Earth. And in all of that immensity, on one small marble, in one small town, in one small room, you are lying here, breathing slowly, safe and warm. And every worry you carry, every weight on your heart, every task undone, and word unsaid, is held within that one small room, on that one small marble, in that one small corner of the one galaxy among countless galaxies, and against the size of everything it is so small, so very small, so tender and small, that the universe could hold 1,000 million such worries and never feel their weight at all. This is not to say your worries do not matter. They matter to you, and you matter, and that is real and true. It is only to say that they are small enough to set down, just for tonight, just for these few hours, and let the vastness hold them for you. The universe is large enough. It has room for everything. It has carried the weight of 14,000 million years and countless galaxies and uncountable private times, and it can carry, easily, the small low weight of whatever you are holding tonight, if you will only let it. Set it down. Let the vastness take it. There is room, and here, in this widest view, the thread of our whole night gathers itself together and shows its full shape. There is no master clock, there never was. The universe keeps no single tick that all things obey. Instead, it keeps countless private times, one for every star and every world and every traveler and every deep slow well, one for the swift bright reaches and one for the deep dark pools, one for the racing satellite high above and one for the stone at the bottom of the valley, one for your head on the pillow, and one, the smallest fraction different, for your feet beneath the blanket. The whole vast cosmos is woven through with time's uncountable threads of silver running side by side through the dark cloth, each one true, each one its own length, none of them right and none of them wrong, none of them in step and none of them out of step, because there is no step to be in or out of, no one beat they all must keep. And yours, the faint slow time you are floating along right now, breath by breath, in the dark, is entirely your own. No one has ever lived it before you. No one will ever live it again. It is the most private thing there is, more private than any thought, more your own than your own name. And it asks nothing of you. It only carries you, the way the slow current carries a leaf, onward serenely into rest. Let us turn now to another face of time, a stiller and more familiar one, the question of why time seems to flow in one direction at all, always forward, never back. And let us find in that too, something soothing rather than strange. You have noticed, of course, your whole life, that time goes one way. The past is behind you and the future ahead, and you cannot turn around and walk back into yesterday the way you can walk back into a room you have left. A cup that falls and breaks does not gather itself up and leap back whole onto the table. Smoke that drifts up from a candle does not gather itself back down into a tidy curl. The warmth of a cup of tea spreads out into the cool air of the room and is lost, and never, not once in all the history of the world, has the warmth gathered itself back out of the air and into the tea, leaving the room a little colder and the tea hot again. Everything seems to run one way, from order towards spreading out, from gathered towards scattered, from neat toward tender and mingled and at ease. This one-way flow is what gives time its arrow, its sense of direction, its forwardness, and it comes, in the end, from a simple and rather tender truth about how the world prefers to arrange itself. The truth is this: there are vastly more ways for things to be spread out and mingled than there are for them to be gathered and neat, and so, left to itself, the world drifts, always, toward the spread out and the mingled, simply because there are so many more ways to be that way. Think of a deck of cards laid out in perfect order, every suit together, every number in its row. There is only one way to be in that perfect order. But there are countless ways for the deck to be shuffled and mixed. And so if you take the ordered deck and stir it, it becomes mixed every time. Because there are so many more mixed arrangements to fall into than ordered ones. It would be no harder, physically, for a shuffle to produce perfect order than to produce any particular mess. It is only that there is one kind of order and a near infinity of kinds of mess, and so mess is what we always get. Time's arrow is just this, the slow, patient drift of everything, from the few neat arrangements toward the countless mingled ones, from gathered toward spread, from the rare toward the common, from order toward a deep and final ease. And here is the part that I find so soothing, lying here in the dark. This drift, this one-way flow, this spreading out, is the most natural thing in all the world. It is not a force pushing against anything. It is not a struggle. It is simply the world settling, the way warm water settles into rest, the way a held breath settles when at last you let it go, the way the body settles into the bed at the end of a long day. The universe is always, everywhere, settling. Everything in it is slowly relaxing, spreading out, easing toward the most restful and most likely arrangement there is. The stars themselves are part of this, slowly spending their gathered fire, spreading their warmth and their light out into the cold dark, easing toward rest over ages too long to imagine. And you are part of it too, tonight, most of all tonight, as you let the gathered tension of the day spread out and ease away, as you let your body settle toward the restful arrangement it most wants to find, as you drift, like everything else in the universe, gently from the gathered toward the at ease. To fall asleep is to do, in your own small hushed way, exactly what the whole universe is doing, all the time, everywhere, for ages upon ages. You are settling, you are easing, you are letting the held thing go, and in that, you are perfectly in step with all of creation, doing the most natural thing there is. So when you feel time flowing forward tonight, carrying you on towards sleep, do not feel it as something rushing or relentless. Feel it as a settling, a softening, a spreading out of all the gathered tightness of the day into the wide, easy dark. Time's arrow points toward rest. It always has. The whole long story of the universe, from its first bright gathered moment to its last slow, even warmth spread out across the endless dark, is a story of settling, of easing, of relaxing toward peace. And tonight, your own small story is part of that great one. You are easing toward your own peace in your own private time, exactly as the universe eases toward its own, and there is nowhere this arrow is taking you but deeper into rest. Let us drift back now, all the way back, to the very beginning of time itself, to the first moment of the universe, and let us find, even there, in the strangest place of all, only wonder and only calm. The universe, we believe, had a beginning, a first moment, a time before which there was no time at all, or before which the very idea of before may have no meaning. In that first moment, everything that now fills the vast cosmos, all the countless galaxies, all the uncountable stars, all the worlds and all the dark between them, was gathered together unimaginably small and unimaginably hot, a single point of gathered everything, and from that point it has been unfolding, expanding, cooling, spreading out ever since, for all the 14,000 million years we spoke of, and unfolding still, even now, even tonight. The whole fabric of space stretching wider while you lie here breathing in the dark. And in those very first moments, time itself behaved in ways even stranger than anything we have touched tonight. Ways so strange that our ordinary words begin to fail. And that is all right. Because we are not here tonight to grasp them, only to let them drift past like distant music. In the first unimaginably tiny fraction of the first second, the universe was so hot and so dense and so swiftly changing that the fabric of space and time, which we have pictured all night as a soft sheet, was rippling and folding in ways too wild to picture. Time was there, but it was woven so tightly with everything else, so curved and so swift, that to speak of one true second in that first moment would mean almost nothing at all. The universe had to cool and spread and settle before time could smooth itself out into the broad, even flow we know, before there could be such a thing as a long, even second ticking past. Even the great patient time of the whole cosmos, the time we count the ages by, had to be born, had to emerge slowly out of that first wild gathered moment, like calm water emerging out of a churning spring. And from that first moment until now, the universe has been doing the very thing we spoke of, settling, spreading, easing, cooling from unimaginable heat toward the cool dark, drifting from the gathered toward the at ease, carrying time's arrow forward all the while. The whole of cosmic history is one long settling, one long unhurried breath out, from the first bright gathered point toward the wide cool peace of all the ages still to come. We are living, you and I, somewhere in the long middle of that breath, in a time when stars still shine and worlds still turn, and warmth is still gathered here and there in bright pools against the dark. And far, far ahead, longer than we can imagine, the universe will go on settling, the stars slowly spending themselves and going dim and dark, the great wheels of the galaxies slowly turning down, everything easing at last toward a wide, even, restful cool, a final peace spread out across the endless dark. And there is nothing sad in that ending when you let it settle over you tonight. It is only rest. It is only the universe, after all its long ages of burning and turning and shining, lying down at last into a deep and even peace. The way you are lying down tonight, letting the gathered warmth of the day spread softly out into the dark, easing toward sleep. The universe is learning to sleep too, slowly, over ages beyond counting, And tonight, in your own small way, you are keeping it company, easing toward rest exactly as it eases, in step with all of time. Let me bring us back now from the deep past and the deep future, back to something close and warm and living, and let us think about the time that flows inside living things, inside you, because there is comfort there as well. We spoke earlier of how the mind keeps its own time, how an hour can feel long or short, but there is also a time the body keeps, a slow and patient rhythm woven into every living thing. A clock that has nothing to do with the clock on the wall and everything to do with the turning of the world. Inside you, and inside every living creature on this turning planet, there is a kind of inner timekeeping, an old and faithful rhythm tuned across countless ages to the rising and setting of the sun. A rhythm that tells your body when to wake and when to grow drowsy, when to warm and when to cool, when to gather your energy and when to let it ease away into rest. It is keeping its own time right now, this inner clock, and it is the reason your body knows, even without being told, that this is the hour for rest, that the long, bright business of the day is done, that it is time to let go. And this inner clock, like every clock in the universe, keeps its own private time. It does not run at quite the same pace in everyone. Some bodies keep an inner time that runs a little ahead, drawing their owners toward early waking and early rest. Some keep an inner time that runs a little behind, drawing their owners toward late nights and late mornings. Neither is right and neither is wrong. They are simply different private times, woven into different bodies, each true to itself, each keeping its own honest hours. And across the whole living world, every creature keeps its own. The small birds keep one time, waking and singing with the first light and falling hushed at dusk. The creatures of the night keep another, sleeping through the bright hours and stirring quietly when the dark comes down. The slow, patient trees keep a time so slow we can hardly perceive it, gathering their strength across whole seasons, easing into rest across whole winters, in a rhythm too vast and unhurried for us to feel. The whole living world is a great hushed chorus of private times, each creature keeping its own, each tuned to its own place in the turning of the world, and no master clock anywhere telling any of them when they must wake or rest. There is only the turning of the planet, the slow, endless cycle of light and dark, and within it, countless living clocks, each keeping its own true time, exactly as the stars and the deep wells and the racing satellites keep theirs. And so the thread runs even here, even in your own warm sleeping body. There is no master clock that you must obey. There is only your own inner time, your own faithful rhythm, drawing you now, tenderly and surely, toward rest. You do not have to make yourself sleep. You do not have to force it, or chase it, or work at it at all. Your own inner clock knows the hour. It has always known. It is turning now toward rest, the way it has turned toward rest across all the nights of your life, the way the bodies of every living thing turn toward rest when their own true time tells them it is the hour. All you have to do is let it. All you have to do is lie here, in your own private time, and let your own faithful inner clock carry you down, the way it knows how, the way it has always known, into the rest that is already coming for you, already on its way, already so near. Let us return, for a while, to one of the deepest and most beautiful consequences of everything we have touched tonight, the strange and lovely fact that there is no single shared now across the universe, no one moment of present that everyone everywhere is living at once. This is so contrary to how we usually feel about time that it deserves to be drifted into very slowly, very tenderly, with no effort to pin it down. We feel, naturally, that there is a present moment, a now, that is happening everywhere at the same time. We feel that as we lie here, this very instant, something is also happening on the moon, at this very same instant, and on the distant planets, and around the distant stars, all of it sharing one single present, one universal now, ticking forward together. It is a deeply natural feeling. And yet, it is not quite how the universe is made. Because there is no way to share a single instant across great distances. The only way for news of any event to reach you is for something to travel from there to here. And nothing travels faster than light. And light, swift as it is, still takes time to cross any distance at all. So the now you feel, the present moment you are living, reaches only as far as your own small place. Beyond it, everything you perceive is already the past, already light that set out some time ago and has only now arrived. The light reaching your eyes from across the room left its source a tiny fraction of a second ago, so small you could never feel it, but real. The light of the moon, when you look up at it, left the moon more than a second ago, so that you always see the moon as it was a second or more in the past, never quite as it is now. The light of the sun left it some minutes ago, so that if the sun were somehow to change in this instant, you would not know for several minutes, would go on seeing the old sun, the past sun, until the news at last arrived. And the light of the stars, as we said, left them years or thousands of years ago. There is no single now that stretches across all of this. There is only your own here and now, your own small bubble of the present, and beyond it, in every direction, a vast and rich layering of pasts, each one arriving at its own pace, each one as old as its distance, all of them gathered into the single sky above your bed. And it goes deeper still, gentler still. For two people moving differently through the world will not even agree on which distant events happen at the same time. What seems to one of them to be two things happening at once may seem to the other to happen one after the other, and neither of them is wrong because there is no master clock to settle it, no single true now against which to measure. The very idea of two distant things happening at the same moment turns out to be pliable, to depend on who is asking and how they are moving, to have no single fixed answer at all. The now is local. The now is personal. Your now is yours, and it reaches just as far as your own small place. And beyond that, the universe keeps countless other nows, each one belonging to its own place and its own traveler. None of them lined up, none of them shared, and no master now anywhere to gather them all together. There it is again, the thread, running through even this, the deepest layer of all. There is no single time, and there is no single now. There is only your own, here, in this room, in this bed, in this breath. And that is enough. That is more than enough. Your own now is the only now you have ever needed, the only one you have ever truly lived in, and it is here, with you, soft and complete, asking nothing. I find this one of the tenderest truths of all, when I let it settle over me in the dark. We so often feel that we are missing the present, that the real now is happening somewhere else, that everyone else is living some fuller moment that we are somehow late for or excluded from. But there is no such single now. There is no great present happening elsewhere that you are missing. There is only your own present, the one you are in, the only one that has ever truly been yours. And you are not late for it, and you are not missing it, because it is here, it is exactly here. It is the breath you are breathing right now in the dark. You cannot be anywhere but in your own now. You cannot fall behind it or rush ahead of it. It carries you, perfectly, always exactly where you are. And tonight your now is this hushed room, this velvet dark, this slow breath, this easing body, this gentle voice keeping you company. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is no other now you are missing. This one, the one you are in, is the whole of the present that has ever belonged to you. And it is enough, and it is here. Let yourself rest, now fully and completely, in your own now, and let me carry you somewhere tender and dreamlike for a while, somewhere with no facts in it at all, only feeling, only the slow drift of rest. Imagine that you are floating, weightless, in the warm dark between the stars. There is no up and no down here, no effort, no weight at all, only a slow, endless drifting, easy as floating in still warm water on a summer night. All around you, in every direction, the stars hang scattered across the dark, each one keeping its own private time, each one in no hurry at all, each one content simply to shine its slow light out into the night. And you are among them, drifting, held by nothing and needing nothing, carried along on the wide, slow current of the universe itself. You are not falling, you are not rising. You are simply being carried the way a leaf is carried on a slow river, the way a small boat is carried on an easy tide, the way a sleeping child is carried, without ever waking, up the stairs and into bed. There is nowhere you have to go. There is nothing you have to do. You are simply being carried serenely through the warm dark, in your own time, at your own pace, with all the time in the universe and no need to spend any of it. Feel the warmth of it, the warm enclosing hold of the dark between the stars, like the warmth of your own bed gathered around you now. Feel how there is no effort in it, none at all. How the drifting happens entirely on its own, how you do not have to swim or paddle or push, how you only have to let yourself be carried. Feel your breath, slow and easy, coming and going on its own, in its own time, asking nothing of you. And all around, the stars drift slowly past, patient and serene, each one keeping its own time, each one in no hurry, and you among them, one more drifting thing in the warm dark, keeping your own time, the slowest and most tranquil time of all, the time of rest, the time of sleep, the time that carries you down and down, deeper and deeper, into the warm enclosing dark, where there is nothing to do and nothing to hold, and nowhere to be but here, drifting, carried, at peace. Let the drifting carry you a little deeper still. Let the warm dark close softly around you. Let each breath be slower than the last, with no effort, no counting, no work of any kind, just the slow, easy coming and going of breath in the dark. There is no clock here that you must keep. There is no schedule, no alarm, no hour you must reach. There is only your own time, drifting along at its own slow pace, and the warm dark, and the patient stars, and the slow, endless carrying current of the universe, bearing you on, the way it has borne the stars and the worlds and all things for 14,000 million years, gently, patiently, in no hurry at all, toward rest. You are part of it now. One more drifting thing, carried on the great slow current, keeping your own hushed time, easing down and down into the warm dark, where sleep is already waiting, already near, already gathering you softly in. Let us gather up, now, slowly and without hurry, what all of this means, not as facts to hold, but as an ease to rest in, a way of being at ease with time that I would like to leave with you before the night draws to its close. We began with a question that seemed almost like a trick of words: why time should move differently across the universe, and we have wandered, page by page, through the strange and beautiful answers. We have seen that motion folds the hours, that simply traveling fast through space slows your time, as seen by those at rest. We have seen that gravity bends time too, that the weight of heavy things presses time slow, so that the heights run quick and the depths run languid, and even your own body keeps slightly different times in its different parts. We have drifted to the edges of the deepest wells, where time slows to its most patient and unhurried pace, where a single moment can stretch out almost endlessly. We have floated to the widest view of all, the long, calm breathing of the whole cosmos across 14,000 million years, and through all of it, one thread has run, silver through dark cloth, the truth that there is no master clock, no single time, no one shared now, but countless private times, one for everything that lives and turns and shines, and yours, the slowest and most tranquil of all tonight, entirely your own. And what I want you to feel, beneath all the wonder of it, is how kind this truth is, how tender, how much room it makes for rest. For if there were a single master clock, one true time hanging at the center of everything, ticking down the one real now that all things must obey, then you might always feel a little out of step with it, a little late, a little behind, always straining to keep up with the one true time that everyone and everything was supposed to share. But there is no such clock. There never was. There is no one true time you are failing to keep. There is no single now you are missing. There is no master schedule the universe is holding you to. There is only your own time, your own now, your own slow private flow of hours, and it is true, and it is enough, and you cannot fall behind it because it is yours, and it goes exactly where you go. You are never late within your own time. You are never behind in your own time. You are always, exactly, precisely, on time within yourself, because your time is yours alone, and it carries you wherever you are. Think of how much weight that lifts, if you let it. So much of the heaviness we carry through our days is the feeling of time as a master we must obey, a clock we must answer to, a current we must swim against or be swept away by. We feel that time is doing something to us, taking things from us, hurrying us along, running out. But the universe itself does not work that way, and you do not have to either. Not tonight, not ever again if you do not wish to. Time is not a master. Time is not a current sweeping you toward some single fixed destination you must reach on schedule. Time is local. Time is personal. Time is supple and pliable and belongs to you, woven to your own path, true to your own heartbeat, keeping your own true hours. It is not above you, ruling you. It is with you, within you, yours. And a thing that is yours cannot be lost to you, cannot run out on you, cannot leave you behind. Your time will carry you, faithfully, at your own pace, for exactly as long as you have it, and it will never once ask you to hurry. And so the deepest comfort of this whole long night, the thing I most want to leave, resting lightly on your chest as you drift toward sleep, is this. You do not have to keep up with anything tonight. There is nothing to keep up with. There is no master clock racing ahead of you that you must chase. There is no true time elsewhere that you are falling behind. There is only your own time, here in this bed, in this dark, flowing as slowly and easily as you wish, asking nothing, taking nothing, simply carrying you, breath by breath, deeper into rest. Let every other clock in the universe keep its own time, the racing satellites and the deep slow wells, and the patient stars and the long-breathing cosmos. Let them all keep their own. You need not match any of them. You need only keep your own, your slow sleeping time, the time of rest, the most patient and unhurried time you have ever kept, and let it carry you, the way it knows how, the way it has always known, down and down into the warm dark where sleep is waiting. Feel, one more time, how your own time is already slowing, already easing towards sleep. Feel how your breath has lengthened all on its own. Slower now than when we began. Deeper, easier. Feel how your body has settled, how the gathered tightness of the day has spread out into the dark and away and away. Feel how the whole weight of you has sunk down into the bed, held completely, so that you do not have to hold yourself at all. Your own time is carrying you now, in its own slow, patient way, toward the rest that is already so near. There is nothing left to do. There is nothing left to think. There is only this, your own slow time, flowing quietly in the dark, bearing you down toward sleep. Before the night closes, let us linger a little longer in the wonder of it, drifting once more through the strangeness we have met. The way you might walk slowly through a beloved room one last time before turning out the light, touching each familiar thing in passing, in no hurry to leave. Let us remember the little clock of bouncing light, the two mirrors and the beam between them, ticking away beside us at rest, and then, sliding past, its light forced along the longer slanting path, its ticks stretching wide, its time running slow. Let us remember the ship of soft white light, gliding out among the stars, and how aboard it everything felt perfectly ordinary, the heart beating at its usual pace, the breath coming and going, while to the distant watchers left behind every motion seemed to drift and slow, as though through deep still water. Let us remember the traveler who journeyed far and fast and came home having lived less time than those who stayed, not by cheating, not by stealing, but simply by walking a different path through the same vast fabric, a path that folded fewer years into it. Let us remember the soft sheet and the heavy stone, the hollow pressed into the fabric, and how everything rolls along the curves that heavy things carve into the world. Let us remember that your head ages a hair's breadth faster than your feet, that the ceiling keeps a different time than the floor, that you are a small, soft country of countless private times, all flowing at very slightly different rates, all of them yours. Let us remember the little clocks circling high above us in the cold and the quiet, set deliberately to tick at a different rate, so that once they reach the quick time of the heights, they will fall into step with us below, so that no traveler glancing down at a small glowing map need ever wander lost in the night. Let us remember the deep dark wells where time pools and rests, where a single moment can stretch out almost endlessly, where a traveler at the edge would live their own ordinary unhurried life, while to the distant stars they would seem to hang motionless in one long serene moment that never ends. Let us remember the light of the stars, the near ones showing us the recent past, and the far ones the deep past, all of it gathered into one faint glittering sky, a vast and tender layering of times above our beds. Let us remember the long, calm breathing of the whole cosmos, 14,000 million years of unfolding, and how against that immensity, the small worries of the day grow small enough to set down and let the vastness hold. Let us remember the arrow of time, pointing always toward settling, toward easing, toward rest, so that to fall asleep is to do, in your own small hushed way, exactly what the whole universe is doing, all the time, everywhere, for ages upon ages. And let us remember, beneath all of it, the one quiet thread, the truth that there is no master clock and no single now, only countless private times. one for everything that lives and turns and shines, and yours, the slowest and softest of all tonight, entirely, completely, your own. How strange and how kind a universe it is that keeps not one tick but countless private times, that lets each star and each world and each traveler and each deep slow well and each warm sleeping body keep its own true hours, that holds no one to any schedule but their own. How tender a thing that your time is yours, woven to your own path, true to your own heartbeat, asking nothing, taking nothing, simply carrying you. There is no clock anywhere in all the vast cosmos that you must answer to tonight. There is no true time elsewhere that you are missing. There is only your own, here, serene and slow and complete, bearing you down toward sleep at exactly the pace you need, in no hurry at all, with all the time in the world, all the times in the world, gathered quietly around you in the dark. There is one more tender thought I would like to leave drifting in the room before the night draws fully closed. One more way of holding all of this that I find especially restful, and it is this. We have spoken all night of clocks, of the things that tick and repeat and let us count time, the swinging pendulums and the trembling crystals and the tireless atoms, but the truest clock you will ever know is your own beating heart, the slow patient rhythm in your own chest, keeping its own time faithfully through every hour of your life, asking nothing, counting nothing, simply beating, simply carrying you onward through your own private time. It does not match anyone else's. It does not march to any master beat. It keeps your own rhythm, yours alone, the rhythm you were born with, the rhythm that has carried you through every day and every night you have ever lived, and it is keeping it now, slow and steady in the dark, easing toward rest along with all the rest of you. Listen for it, if you like, the faint far drum of your own heart, your own truest clock, keeping your own truest time, or do not listen for it at all, and simply trust it, the way you have always trusted it, to keep your time for you while you sleep, faithfully, without your watching, without your worry, all through the long quiet night. And there is a tenderness in knowing that all across the wide world, all across the turning planet, countless other hearts are doing the very same thing tonight, each one keeping its own time, each one beating its own slow rhythm in its own dark room, none of them matched, none of them marching together, and yet all of them part of the same vast quiet chorus of private times, the same great gathering of clocks that the universe keeps. Somewhere a child is sleeping, its small heart keeping a quick light time. Somewhere an old one is resting, the heart slow and patient and worn smooth by years. Somewhere a traveler is drifting toward sleep in a strange city far from home, the heart keeping its own time still, unchanged, faithful, wherever the body wanders. And you, here, in your own dark, your own bed, your own quiet, your heart keeping your own time, are one more in that vast chorus, one more private clock among countless others, all of you drifting toward rest tonight, each in your own time, each at your own pace, none of you in any hurry, none of you out of step, because there is no step to be out of, no master beat you all must keep. There is only the hushed, scattered music of countless private times, easing toward sleep together across the whole wide turning world. And think, too, of how this same truth has quietly held for every creature that has ever lived, all the way back through the long ages of the world. Every animal that has ever drawn breath upon this planet kept its own private time, its own inner rhythm, its own heartbeat, counting out its own hours, and not one of them ever answered to a master clock. The great slow creatures of the deep ancient seas kept a time so unhurried we can scarcely imagine it. The swift small things of the air kept a time so quick their tiny hearts beat many times for each one of ours. The patient trees standing through the centuries kept a time slower still, measured not in beats but in seasons, in the slow swelling of rings within their trunks, one for every year. A quiet clock of wood-keeping count without ever being asked to. And the long, slow turning of the planet itself, the steady rolling of day into night and night into day, was the one wide rhythm they all drifted within. Not a master clock commanding them, only a gentle shared cradle rocking countless private times together. The way the slow drift of the cosmos cradles all the scattered clocks of the stars. The universe has always worked this way, down here on the warm earth, as much as out among the cold stars. Many times, gathered serenely together, no single one ruling the rest. It is the oldest pattern there is, older than memory, older than thought, and you are part of it tonight, drifting in your own time, within the wide shared cradle of the turning world, exactly as every living thing before you has drifted, easing toward the same rest they all found, night after night, age upon age. There is a deep peace in being part of something so old and so patient, in knowing that the way you are resting tonight is the way rest has always come, to every creature in its own time, within the slow turning of the world. You are not doing anything new or strange or difficult. You are doing the oldest and most natural thing there is. You are letting your own time slow toward sleep, the way countless beings have let their own times slow before you, the way the whole patient universe slows and settles and eases toward its own long rest. There is nothing to get right. There is nothing to manage. There is only the oldest ease in the world, the slowing of your own private time toward sleep, happening now, on its own, exactly as it always has. Let that be the last wide thought before the night closes, the thought of all those private times, all those resting hearts, all those scattered clocks easing toward rest across the world and across the universe and across all the long ages, and yours among them. Yours the one that matters tonight, yours the one that is carrying you down, slow and steady, faithful and unhurried, into the warm dark where sleep is waiting. You are not alone in your own private time. You are one of countless. And you are also completely, entirely, yourself, keeping the one time that is yours alone, the time no one else has ever lived or ever will. Both of those are true at once, and both of them are tender, and both of them are reasons to rest. You belong to the great chorus, and you keep your own quiet part of it, and tonight, your part is the slow, tender song of sleep. Tonight has been about time, and about how it bends and flows and rests differently, all across the wide universe. Tonight has been about the little clock of bouncing light, slowing as it slides past, and the ship of soft white light gliding among the stars, and the traveler who came home younger than those who stayed. Tonight has been about the heavy stone in the soft sheet, the hollow pressed into the fabric of the world, the deep slow wells where a moment can last almost forever. Tonight has been about the patient mind in his small office who followed one true thread without fear until the whole strange shape of reality opened before him. And the universe that turned out to have been built that way all along. Tonight has been about the long, calm breathing of the cosmos across 14,000 million years, and the light of the stars layering many pasts into one quiet sky, and the arrow of time pointing always, always toward rest. And beneath all of it, Tonight has been about one tender truth. The truth that there is no master clock, no single time, no one shared now, only countless private times, and yours, the slowest and most peaceful of all, entirely your own. There is no master clock. There is no master clock. There is no master clock. Let those words settle over you like a blanket drawn slowly up. There is no true time you are failing to keep. There is no true time you are failing to keep. There is no true time you are failing to keep. There is only your own, here, in this bed, in this dark, flowing as slowly as you wish. You are exactly on time within yourself. You are exactly on time within yourself. You are exactly on time within yourself, and you always have been, and you always will be. Because your time is yours, and it goes wherever you go. None of this needs anything from you tonight. There is nothing to learn and nothing to remember. There is nothing to hold and nothing to keep. The little clock of bouncing light, the ship among the stars, the deep slow wells, the long breathing cosmos, you can let all of it go now. Let it drift up and away into the wide forgiving dark. Because it was only ever here to give your mind something smooth and slow to follow, like snow falling past a window, like a tide going out. It has done its work. You can release it. You can release everything. The whole weight of the day, the whole long list of all you carried, every task and every worry and every word, you can set it all down now against the vastness, which is large enough to hold it, which has room for everything, which has carried far heavier things than yours for far longer than you can imagine, and never once felt the weight. When this is over, there will be another slow exploration waiting for you on the screen, another slow journey out into the dark, ready to begin all on its own. You do not have to do anything to reach it. You do not have to choose it or start it, or even stay awake for it. You can simply let it begin on its own, and let its voice carry you on the way this one has, deeper into the dark, deeper into rest, while you drift, already gone, already sleeping, already far away in your own slow private time. Let it come when it comes. Let it carry you onward. There is no need to wait for it and no need to reach for it. It will be there, and you will already be drifting, and that is exactly as it should be. And if some stray thought drifts up before sleep takes you, here is one you might let it rest upon. If you could keep any time you wished, any pace at all, fast as light or slow as the deepest well, which would you choose, and where in all the wide universe would you most like to drift, keeping your own private time among the patient stars? You do not have to answer. You do not have to think hard about it at all. Let it be only the gentlest of questions, a small warm light to follow down into sleep, or to leave behind in the dark for someone else to find, if you should care to share it. There is no hurry. There is never any hurry here. Now let your breath go slow and even, one last time, with no effort at all. Feel the place where your body meets the bed, and let it hold you completely. Let your shoulders ease down, away from your ears. Let your jaw soften. Let your hands lie open and easy. Let the whole weight of you sink down through the mattress and away, down through the floor, down into the patient ground, while your own slow time carries you, gently, in no hurry at all, with all the time in the universe gathered serenely around you, down and down and down into the warm dark where sleep is already waiting, already near, already gathering you tenderly in. There is no master clock. There is only your own time, your own slow hushed sleeping time, bearing you down at last into rest. You are exactly where your own time has carried you. You are exactly when you are. And that is the only place any traveler ever needs to be. Rest now. Drift now. Let go now. The stars will keep their own times without you. The deep wells will keep theirs. The long cosmos will go on breathing its slow, patient breath across the ages, asking nothing of you, holding nothing against you, leaving you free to keep only your own private time, the slowest and most peaceful of all, the time of sleep. Sleep well.